The core mission of the summer school is dialogue of different intercultural groups, to bring them together, to share ideas, backgrounds, information, and to try to get into contact, maybe even build up friendships. So this is actually our core mission here. What did I learn? Of course, I learned from all the lecturers because they were presenting the Kyrgyz perspectives or research knowledge, background, and I'm from Germany, so I learned a lot about the country or this region, Central Asia. So this is actually what I learned in terms of content. But in terms of people, of course, I learned so much again about diversity, and that we share so many things, and that we can so easily connect to each other. Just be open-minded and adapt to situations. So nice, very nice encounters with staff and students. So I have constructed the project, I developed the project, so I will use all this knowledge I gained through doing it now, doing the summer school, getting all the information, I will use to develop the project further. So for me this is very relevant, of course, to see how it works in practice, because I invented it, more or less. Then we would, if we get more money, which is open question, then we would also do this in in like Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, but we will do other things and outside again.
The topics that I presented were, first of all, a talk about my project at the University of Toronto in Canada, and it's a project that's called the Gendering Adolescent AIDS Prevention Project, or the GAP project. And this is a project that brings together youth, students, researchers, community health workers to think about creative approaches to doing sexual health and HIV/AIDS awareness work with young people. And the whole goal of the project is to make sure that youth are involved. And I think the reason I did the opening talk is that Toronto is known to be the most diverse country, or most diverse city in the world. And so we work with youth from very, very many backgrounds, which means that we have to do sexual and reproductive health education that is targeted to very different populations, so it has to look different. And therefore we have to rely on the youth to work with us to develop the programs. And this is what we wanted to happen here. We wanted to make sure that youth had a say in the kind of sexual health and reproductive education work that they learn in schools and in other organizations. I thought the summer school was amazing. I learned so many things. I do work in this area, it's my area of research, yet for every topic I kept writing and writing and writing because it was new information for me. And I think what was particularly new was the many different perspectives that were presented, because people were from so many different countries. And so I learned a lot about different customs. I learned a lot about different histories in terms of how people think about doing sexual health work. I learned about the different contexts in which people do this work and how it's so important to think about that. And I think because of this, I will go back home to Toronto and I will do my work in a better way. I will think in a more, even a more diverse way, and I'm also going to take the information that I learned here and bring it into my classes. So I teach a course called Gender and the Politics of Health, and so what I'm going to be able to do next year is to talk about what's happening in Central Asia on these issues, as well as what's happening in Canada, and I think that will be very exciting for the students.
I really enjoyed the summer school because since I study human rights, for me it was very useful to learn about, for example, gender-based violence, migration issues, and also the things that actually I will use not only in my kind of professional life, but also in my personal life. For example, HIV, AIDS, and STI prevention, and these kind of like topics that are related to gender issues, basically. As I mentioned before, I study human rights, and I think for me it will be very useful to kind of use the knowledge that I actually gained during the summer school in my future studies, especially if I want to work, for example, in UN. And UN, like, you know, they actually like sponsor different projects related to kind of sexual and health and reproductive health education. So I think, of course, I will use the knowledge that I gained during the summer school.
I received a lot of information and very necessary and important information about gender issues and HIV prevention, and the most important thing was that gender issues and problems that people are facing around the world is not really specifically about a specific region, you know, or a community. It is happening all over the world, and as the new generation of the planet Earth, it's, I think, our responsibility to find solutions for these issues and work together to create an atmosphere of peace and love and compassion for the upcoming generation. The important information I gained, I learned a lot about gender issues, basically, in Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Germany, and unfortunately all the sad things that are happening. And I learned a lot about the initiatives that people are working on to prevent and avoid such kind of problems.
Okay, we had the summer school for, I guess, 9 days, and we were from very different countries, so like Canada, Germany, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, I guess, and from Kyrgyzstan, of course. And my impression was that beyond all of the different cultural backgrounds, all of us had some of the same ideas, same experiences, same dreams, and I guess that was a very beautiful experience. First, we started with the topic of sexual education for teenagers or children, and then we talked about different topics like I guess sexual violence, migration, HIV and STIs.